on behalf of CCUK, I'd like to welcome the panel and also my colleague Kirsty Mawhinney, who's going to moderate the panel. So to just do some scene setting for our panel part of the morning, I'd like to give an overview of the UK market, which is really referring to a report from Mintel, which includes babies and children's personal care products, nappies and wipes. In 2020, it was valued at £676 million, which was an increase of 2.8% over the year before. And actually, in general, the market is anticipated to rise by about 4% over the next few years. The drivers in the market have really obviously been impacted in particular by the COVID pandemic, and purchasing behaviour was really around stockpiling, bulk buying and increasing hygiene behaviours. And that was what was driving spend, and it will continue to do so, I think. Also, I think COVID-19 has accelerated parents' concerns towards baby skin health. And in fact, according to Mintel, 63% of parents of the 0 to 4-year-olds think that baby skin can be damaged by washing and cleaning. So what, in Mintel's view, are the opportunities in the market? And I think some of these are really reflected by some of the speakers earlier in terms of things that are already happening. So there's room for innovation in moisturising claims, microbiome-friendly formulas and natural antibacterial ingredients, and also mild and biodegradable formulas. And actually 21% of parents expressed interest in this. An area which may or may not be important is, or as an opportunity, is the whole area of emotional well-being. And this could include things like aromatherapy, mood boosting scents, or massage applicators. A trend towards premiumizing in line with eco-ethical trends is really growing, and also an increasing use of own label. So 21% of parents switched due to the outbreak of the COVID pandemic. So in terms of what may be a threat, obviously we're all in a situation of global uncertainty, and we're still in the end of the pandemic, and we don't know what kind of financial impact that will continue to have. Birth rates are said to be down in the UK 3.9% in 2020, so declining birth rates is a global thing, and it may also impact the market. So that's just a bit of scene setting on the market, and I'd now like to hand over to Kirsty, who can introduce the panel. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Well, hi, I'm Kirsty from Cosmetic Cluster UK, and what a session. I have been glued to my screen. I have to be honest. I've been recording and capturing all these fabulous insights. So thank you very much to our speakers who have come before. So as I have mentioned, we put together a panel of brand founders and industry experts to just discuss this topic in a broader sense. There's been a lot of information we've all taken on board today. And so without further ado, just let me mention who I have in the room. So we've got the lovely Emma Nash, who I have known for some years now. So thank you, Emma, for popping in.
Pleasure.
Emma is an outstanding industry manufacturer. I think the first time I came across Emma's product, Tiddley was when I was doing competitive analysis for another brand that was going into Boots, and I was getting ready for my meeting with Boots at D90, and I really tracked Tiddley Palm for around 3 months in the category. So I was reviewing that brand quite extensively. And then I met Emma since then, and we have become colleagues and friends. So lovely to have you, Emma.
Yeah,
you
lovely
have
to see you.
not only Tiddley Palm, you also have Aromatherapy Shed.
That's right.
Emma Nash Oils, which I know is the raw supplier of essential and aromatherapy oils.
Yeah.
And then we have Gudrun. Gudrun is the brand owner and founder of Little Butterfly London. So thank you, Gudrun, for coming into this space again. It is a great privilege to have such a quality product and a product that I know is reputed by social celebrities, people who are really wanting to find good quality skincare for baby and mum. So it's exciting to have you on this, and also I am collaborating with Gudrun on various projects, so it's lovely to have you. Chris, I haven't met you in person yet, but I get to see you here, and I know that you come so highly regarded. Jill Westgate has been talking about you. I think we've been talking about you for about 4 months now, so your ears must be burning. And you gave such a fabulous session. I really found it incredibly interesting. Some key insights there that are really food for thought. I think the big one for me was the fact that we're not really seeing a visible change, you know, that you can record from the benefit or claim, a microbiome claim. So I think that's really my biggest takeaway from what you shared, but I'm sure there were many others that I need to go and re-listen. So thank you. So I don't know really how we're going to kind of take this, but it's going to be an easy conversation really, just to kind of review and talk about, firstly, for our brand founders here in the room, why they actually felt a need to launch a baby brand. So I think that's the first question I'm going to throw out. And Gudrun, I'm going to come over to you. Why did you want to launch a baby brand in this category?
Well, so back in the days, it was 2013. So I had my son, and what I actually witnessed on the market when I was looking for skincare myself, that there wasn't really a brand that would encompass all the tick boxes that I was personally looking after. So I really came from a consumer perspective. And so I was looking for a certified EcoCert, a certified organic brand. So I wanted to know and have the reassurance that all the raw materials are properly sourced and then, you know, traced with the manufacturer, etc. I wanted the products to be suitable for newborn, highly reactive, insensitive skin, because that's what my son had back in the days. Everything sourced responsibly and in a nice makeup, you know, because again, you know, there's a lot on the shelf, but it's not really aspirational. And that I also wanted to have products that are kind of enhancing a little bit those precious moments, and that you also like to have a look at. It's a bit of also an experiential product and a face that you want to kind of support with those with such things. And so what I did in the beginning, because I'm not a cosmetic expert, I don't come out of the industry at all. So I essentially really screened all the products I could find. So I was traveling quite a lot back in the days, and I looked at the inkies of all the products. And what really struck me was they were quite simplistic, and at times, you know, even there were mixes with olive oil and lavender and all sorts of things on the market, but nothing that left me particularly as a consumer impressed. And then so essentially from there, the idea was born that I wanted to create a very high premium range that was certified organic and that had kind of more interesting formulations using premium ingredients naturally, excluding all the kind of nasties like artificial fragrances or harsh perfumes or anything like that. So that was the starting point for me.
Thank you very much. It's incredibly interesting to hear, you know, coming from a consumer's perspective and looking at what is available on the shelf, and maybe being inspired and motivated to then bring forward a range like you have done. So Emma, I'm coming over to you now. You of course have had Tiddley Palm, gosh, I don't know, launched
Goodness
it
me.
2012 or?
Yeah, 2012. I launched Tiddley Palm really for the same reasons as Gudrun. I came from it from a slightly different perspective because my background is in natural ingredients. And I'm also a qualified aromatherapist as well. So I had that sort of that sort of view of the baby market. And really, back in 2012, there wasn't really anything on the market which would satisfy my desire for a more natural product range. It was very heavy on synthetic fragrances, on synthetic preservatives, and also another aspect that really wasn't satisfied for me was the emotional well-being aspect of products and skincare products, especially for babies. There was a lot on the market for adults, but for the baby category, there didn't seem to be much that came from the natural direction and also the emotional well-being. So incorporating philosophies of aromatherapy, of Vedic medicine, that kind of aspect. So I really came at it from that point of view, and very much also for the massage, for the touch, sound, smell aspect. So Tiddley Palm incorporates all of those aspects, and you know, there was nothing there that would satisfy me, alongside with all of the, you know, no chemicals, no harsh preservatives. And of course, Iris, my daughter, was one of those babies, and she had every skin condition going, and there really wasn't anything that I could find at that time that would really help with those aspects of the skin.
I'm taking something from Jane's slide that she shared about the emotional well-being aspect. That is an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if you're talking about that back in 2012, we know from the pandemic that this has definitely stepped up. You know, an awareness of time out, caring for oneself, and you know, we all know the value of baby's touch and massage. I'm going to come over to Chris now, because Chris, I think you've probably heard some terminology from both of these brand founders that is interesting as the role you play in science and regulation and claims, because I think the communication that we are sharing about the product and how we talk about our formulas is an area that maybe we need to refine and work on. But I give you the floor here to kind of come back and counter some of the comments you've heard from Gudrun and Emma.
Well, just so other people know, I spent over 20 years in Procter & Gamble, working beauty care mainly, but also a lot of baby care as well. And I also do work on feminine protection, feminine hygiene. So all those areas that are very emotive. The story I heard from both of the brands makes such a huge amount of sense. And getting specific products, those emotional journeys, the bond between parents and the newborn and the baby, having been a parent myself as well, I'm still a parent, I should say. But that bond is so important, and the products often form the part of the communication between the parent and the child. So I fully understand it, and I understand why the products are there. One thing I think that's often missed is that we talk about babies, or we talk about children, as if it's one specific dimension, it's one unit, when in actual fact they're a complete distribution, they're a complete spectrum, from one end where you've got the rough and tumble, never goes wrong baby, to the other end, which is the completely complex, everything happens baby, both psychologically, physically, in their skin or on their skin. So there's this huge distribution, but it always gets narrowed down to baby or whatever. So I can understand all those journeys, and I see this happening a lot. Where the challenge always arises when it comes to claims, because you're always trying to differentiate a brand. And that's when I don't like the word problems, but that's when the problems start to arise. There's nothing wrong with the brands, they're all good brands, and not only the two that have been mentioned. The problem arises when people are trying to differentiate them. And as they try and differentiate, they try to use different language, and it implies different things. So for example, language like it's organic. Organic is more of a lifestyle choice. An organic ingredient and a synthetic ingredient, which are chemically identical, are the same ingredient. Whether one's generated organically or whether one's generated synthetically, it's the same. It's a choice of where you go and get that ingredient, and the background to that ingredient and the heritage of that ingredient. One may come from a chemical plant, which has terrible credentials. One may come from a field like the oat product, which has superb credentials. So it's more what goes on behind it. But where the problem then starts to arise is to say, because it's this, it does something better for the skin, or because it's this, it's safer. And as you try and differentiate the products, you say, it's organic, therefore it's better, or that doesn't fit, or it changes the microbiome and therefore it changes the skin. Well, that's the evidence we don't have. Or it's got an EcoCert label with it, therefore it must be better. Not necessarily true. So it's when the brands the brands are fabulous, and don't get me wrong, they really are, and they're delivering for the consumer, but it's in the communication to the consumer where it gets confused, and where the claims and the efforts to make the products different in the communication starts to go wrong. And that's when we end up with claims which are not substantiated. And when they get challenged, the brand suffers. So,
Chris, I think, sorry to interrupt. Chris, I think that's very true. And that's really an indicator of the confusion in the market, and possibly the misinformation within the market as well. I talk to a lot of parents, and, you know, the spectrum of opinion and information and contradictory information is vast. And that, to me, is the key issue with ingredients, with the efficacy of products, is that there is utter confusion from parents of what is right for their baby. And of course, parents quite naturally are quite paranoid about what they're putting on their baby's skin. And, they don't know one good thing from another. You know, is organic better? Is natural better? You know, it is a very, very foggy picture out there. And I think that's one of the key challenges of this market completely, is how to communicate with the end consumer, because the internet is full of information that is incorrect.
Absolutely right. And I see this every day, across a whole range of products. And it's not only baby care. It's beauty. It's beauty per se. You know, you say, and I see ads on TV. I saw some last night, and I'm thinking, that's just not right. How did that get on TV? You know, I'm part of the process that should stop things like that getting on TV. But yes, you see all sorts of things, and it spills over into baby products as well. And it's in that effort to make things different. You know, if you could say, I've got a fabulous product and I can prove it's fabulous because X million people buy it and they keep sending me good reviews, keep buying the product. You know, it's obviously working for a lot of people, but importantly, a range of people as well. It's not just a standard in a box baby. It's working for all these different babies, and I think it's great. Yeah. That doesn't give you enough to differentiate the product. And there are others out there, and you'll know them, that will say, well, my product's better because, and then they'll start to stretch the truth, and then the truth becomes a lie, and it doesn't do the category any good at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree.
Thanks. I'm going to kind of just bring everybody back, because I think an interesting thread we've gone on there. But I did want to come back into the microbiome world. And just in closing that piece, Chris, I know that a lot of the cosmetic regulators are working on the safety element so much, because that's really where it plays out. You know, it's on that safety piece. And we all know that we are a self-regulated industry. And so how we manage our selves is through the codes and practices that we have. And we need to be following those to the best of our ability. And one of the things I keep sharing with anybody who I touch in my consultancy world is if we can please just use terminology that talks about the value of the product. So what I would call the yes things instead of the no things, or what somebody else is doing, because I think the moment you start to go, so and so is doing that, and therefore, as you said earlier, Chris, mine is better, it's kind of then playing, it's actually pushing us away from what we're trying to do. So maybe we're our own worst enemies. I don't know if you have something to say in closing of that, Chris.
I completely agree. And it's because it's easier to trade on the negative. It costs you nothing to trade on the negative. It costs you a lot more to trade on the positives of your product, because that requires a lot more effort to make claims. So it's a lot easier. It's human nature. This is the problem. All these claims and products exist with people. And all I have to say to you is, somebody said something about that product, and straight away your human nature says, well, perhaps I won't buy it then. You don't need to know anymore. That's it. I've just cast the doubt. So that's easy. Buy my product because I've heard some bad things about the other guys. Nobody says what. So the trading on the negatives is easy, and the whole category does it. And I'd love to say trade on the positives and trade only on the positives. Can't see it ever happening because it's beyond human nature.
Well, I think we're touching into the psychology there. I'm going to come back to you, Gudrun, and just talk about the microbiome again. You know, we've listened a lot today from experts and industry professionals about the microbiome. What exactly is it? Is there really something that Little Butterfly London is offering or considering with regards to this area of the microbiome? Could you just tap into a little bit from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, to what I said earlier, for me, it was not just to have lavish formulas with a whole series of ingredients there that really sound nice and fancy. Obviously, we want to have really nice and mild ingredients in there, but it's also just as important to keep those out, which do negatively affect the skin barrier and the microbiome. So in our, we look at every single ingredients in the Inky, and those ones that are harsh, we don't put in. We are just recently reformulated 2 of other products in order to have milder preservative systems in there, and also to add more active ingredients in there that help with the healing aspect and the soothing. So, and also generally we use very mild surfactants, and we don't use any, again, harsh ingredients, all about the mildness. So I think from that perspective, and with the current knowledge that's there on the raw materials, we're trying to do the best as we can.
It's constantly revisiting and relooking at what is coming out and understanding it, and then working with your formulators and bringing that forward. Emma, I'm going to come over to you. Is there anything regarding what you were doing, say, back in 2012 and what you're now doing, gosh, in 2022?
Yes. I mean, for me, back in 2012, and to some extent it is still an issue, is having an effective preservative system that is natural. It's a very, very difficult thing to achieve, but there are new ingredients coming onto the market all of the time, not just preservatives. We're looking at one called Prebelian FOS, which is a new ingredient that's coming onto the market, which is to help protect the health of the skin. So from our point of view as a brand, what we have to do is keep looking at what is being developed by the scientific community, which is more natural, or at least if it's not natural, it is super mild, you know, because development is happening all the time, and it's our responsibility to keep up with that. We're not formulators, we're not chemists, so it's our job to keep in touch with the people that are doing the research and launching these new ingredients that we can incorporate into our products.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you've touched on an area that is incredibly interesting, which is the preservative system. And, you know, I'm just going to jump in and say that I'm steering the sustainability pillar at CCUK, and we're looking at a whole new world with regards to single-use packaging and what we're doing with our composition of our product. And of course, a large portion of us use the airless packaging, which is great. If we need a preservative then, and we're going into a different format, it's getting interesting again. I am going to quickly, because time is unfortunately running away with us, and just ask Chris, I don't know if you've seen, Chris, there's a question from one of the attendees here that was talking about regulations to follow to obtain and sell homemade beauty cosmetic creams. I mean, we know that there are a lot of GDP, you know, the manufacturing compliance and various regulations that one needs to adhere to. Is there anything you could add to that?
I think my best advice would be to join the CTPA and use them as your guide. I mean, these are the guys who are really up to speed on everything. So it would be wrong. I'm not a regulator, so it would be wrong for me to advise directly, but there's this huge pool of knowledge and experience and help as the CTPA. So join them, and you can, I mean, there's a lot of free information with them anyway, but you know, you can get all the help you need from them.
I'm just going to pop that in the answer, and hopefully that's good. Katrina, I'm conscious that you're here wanting us to wrap up. We haven't had a chance to pose a specific question from the brands to the scientific community, but I'm sure that we can definitely get that shared out on email.